Hey guys, Happy New Year. It's been a while. I haven't decided to record anything for a while. I was sick a couple of weeks ago, and I had some issues with my eye, and it was looking kind of weird. It wouldn't have looked great on camera, and I was breaking out a lot over the winter break. So I'm like, I'm gonna wait until my face clears up before I start recording again. And thankfully, it did somewhat. I mean, I still have a couple breakouts, but they're not super bad, so where I don't look right. I just want to thank all the people who decided to subscribe to my channel. Thank you. I wasn't even expecting anyone to subscribe to this channel, to be honest. So for the people that have done so, thank you. And thanks to all the people who actually do watch my videos. I appreciate it. It's just something, just let me air out a lot of things I'll be feeling. And it's just another outlet for me to go into detail about certain aspects and like things that go on, and I kind of don't want to have my Facebook be tied up with that all the time, so this is another avenue for me. So I just want to thank everybody and welcome to 2019. To start this year off, we were treated with a very lengthy docuseries, SurvivingRKelly, and for me as a person who lived in Chicago all my life, who lived through the 90s and lived on the South Side, like a lot of the stuff within the docuseries hit close to home. Like a lot of it did. I think the very first portion of it, when it came to Aaliyah, was really hard to watch because I've been a fan of hers all my life, and just knowing the depths of what happened to her back in the day when she was just a 15-year-old girl is just, it's really challenging to think about the things she had to endure and the things she had went through and the things that she shouldn't have went through at such an early age. But unfortunately, due to her circumstances with, her parents and whatnot, and how calculated and manipulative I'm sure R. Kelly is, it made it easy for that situation to happen, unfortunately. And I'm just glad she was able to get through that, because watching it was really hard. And just the whole documentary in general was really hard because it was just so much that was told. And I mean, we've heard stories about R. Kelly throughout the years and whatnot, and it's different hearing it from an actual person who lived it versus just hearing like headlines and blogs and stuff, because you really don't get a sense of the severity of it when you just read a really surface level headline about what R. Kelly did this time around. But this video is not to go into depth about the actual documentary itself. There's plenty of content on YouTube of people really breaking it down and going through it and slicing it with a fine-tooth comb. I decided to take this opportunity to talk about a really important topic when it comes to gay men, especially like young teenage gay men, like the same age as Aaliyah when she was, having her I would say situation with R. Kelly. So we're going to talk about like 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old gay men who get involved with older gay men. Now, one of the things that a lot of people who watched it are starting to say a lot is they're using the negligence of the parents, or the parents not being aware of what their kids were doing, as a way to like absolve R. Kelly from all of his wrongdoings. And a lot of like, oh, where were the parents? Where were the parents? Where were the parents at? I'm like, I was 15 once, and it was really easy to, like, I don't want to say get away with stuff, but it was really easy to pull the wool over their eyes, because, for one thing, I was a really, I guess, quote-unquote good kid. So my mother never really thought much of what I went out to do. So I was like, oh, he's probably just going to go play video games, or he's going to go do this. She never thought much of my outside activities, even though I was pretty much an active, like, gay teenager, even though I was in the closet still. That's the one thing I want to point out. Like, being a teen, I don't want to say it's easy, but you learn how to be deceptive to your parents at a very early age. And if you already have, like, a sexuality that you feel you can't, disclose to your parents because of whatever reason that is, you learn how to lie to them and deceive them really early on. Like, there's actually studies say that gay men learn how to, the art of deception is something they learn really early on. And I would have to agree, because I knew how to, like, finagle and finesse situation. Like, oh, it's not this, it's that, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But we're going into more detail. So, the biggest argument is, oh, well, they wanted it. They're little fast little girls who wanted to be a part of this thing, R. Kelly, and blah, blah, blah. Kids are not fast. Okay? That's a myth. The idea of someone being fast is the notion that this kid is more sexually active and developed than other kids are. That's not seriously true. Like, a lot of kids think about sex. When you get to become a teenager, you start to have thoughts and feelings about sex. So that's kind of where that whole area comes in. And I think some kids act on it, some kids don't. Doesn't make one kid supposedly fast. It just means they want to experiment on this stuff faster than other kids. It doesn't mean they're fast. Because it's like the connotation of being fast is pretty much saying you were like a little whore or a little slut and all that stuff, which is terrible to say about a child. Like, children don't even have the capacity to really understand the choices they're making at 16 and 15 and 14. So the idea of this whole fast thing is just, it's trash. Like, it's not that. It's just kids being curious and exploring and doing all that stuff. It's unfortunate that we live in a society that, well, I would say specifically the black community demonizes children from health exploration. Because I think if parents were a little more open about sex and all that type of stuff, then we wouldn't have these so-called fast kids and stuff. We would just have kids who are sexually active, because you're probably going to have sex at a teenage age. Like, that happens. That's normal. That's what happens. That's when your body's changing. You're noticing, oh shit, my dick gets hard, or blah blah blah. So that's nothing to demonize a child for. I think if parents did a better job of preparing them for that time period in which their body's changing and they're thinking about sex a lot more and they're becoming a little bit more, they're understanding themselves like physically, I think we'll have a better outlook on what to do when situations arise. Also, a lot of victim blaming came along from people after this documentary came out. Like, oh, it's the child's fault. Why are they being so fast? Like I said earlier, you can't be fast. You can't consent to like things like that at an early age. Like, you just can't. But what I want to talk about specifically is gay men. I think there's a lot of gay men who have been in situations very similar to what Aaliyah was going through. Now, you're not getting pregnant and stuff like that, but dealing with an older man, I know so many gay men who have experiences with older men at very early ages. Like, even myself, I was one of those quote-unquote fast kids. Like, okay, so before the advent of the internet really came to be, as far as like help people like connect us, whatnot, and well, a lot of people didn't even have internet, like a really decent internet connection when I was growing up, like my teenage years. So one of the really easy ways a lot of like gay kids were able to like socialize with other gay people was through this thing called a party line. And the party line was a free like chat, it's like a free chat service that you can call in and you can like listen to profiles and then you can talk to people and link up, stuff like that. And a lot of gay people used it. Like, it was so many, like all my friends used party line. We were going to party line after school. We were on the phone for like hours and hours listening to different people and talking and getting numbers and meeting up with people too. Like, I did a lot of meeting up with guys like from the age 14. Oh God, I think when I started using party line, probably I was like around 17, 18. Yeah, so I was able to finally like use the internet a lot more. So I started using like online dating sites like, BGC and Afternoon, blah, 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 when I turned 18. But before that, when I was 14 to 17, I was using party lines specifically. I was chatting and meeting guys. Like, I remember when I was 16, I met this one guy who lived in Milwaukee, and he was 24, and I was 16. I was talking to him every single day, and my mother knew nothing of it. Like, and it was really easy to do. So my point is that while we're sitting here placing blame on these girls, it's easy to deceive your parents. So saying this whole like, oh, we're the parents. The parents were doing what they thought they were doing what they were supposed to do. They just had children that lied, and children do lie sometimes, especially when you've already hidden other things about yourself. I'm sure there's plenty of kids who've had abortions and had other stuff that happened back in. Well, I know back in the day, you actually could get an abortion without parents' consent. I think around like 16. I think that's changed now. I'm not too sure about the laws when it comes to pregnancy and abortion, but I know in the 90s it was a little more lax. So a lot of girls were getting them without their parents even knowing they were happening. And there's a lot that you can do when you're a kid and you have the resourcefulness to know how to sneak around and lie to your parents and stuff like that. Like, I remember when I was 16, I went to Milwaukee to hang out with my friends for like spring break, like without supervision. Really, I really didn't have any like older supervision going on. It was pretty much I was out there by myself. Well, not by myself, but friends. But yeah, I went away. So it's like a lot of people are like, oh, how can you let your kids go out of state without knowing and blah blah blah. Some parents do, and if you're a good kid, like, it's easy. It's like, I don't understand this whole notion that parents have like this lock and key on their kids. I think some parents do, but a lot of parents don't. Well, a lot of them trust them, and unfortunately, kids don't have the foresight to understand the choices that they make will affect the rest of their life. So they're making like really poor decisions. You're making very poor decisions in the present, and I think about the future, what's going to happen to them. So of course they have I built up a pretty good trust with my mom. So I was able to really get away with a lot of stuff as far as like going out, hanging out with guys twice my age and stuff like that. And another thing I want to talk about with this is the concept of talking to somebody like in their 20s. Like, you're 16 years old and you're having a full-on relationship with somebody that's in their 20s and 30s and stuff. That's not how that works, because you're still developing as a child. You still have a child's mentality. Your brain is not like completely formulated and developed yet. So you're trying to have a relationship with a grown man and you're still not even a grown man yourself. That's a problem. That's predatory behavior. And it's so common in the gay community, especially. Like, there are some people I know who was like, oh, I was in a relationship when I was 16 with a 30-year-old, and it was fine, it was healthy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's not healthy. You were a child with a grown man. Like, that's statutory rape. Like, you're not able to make rational decisions at that age. Like, you're just not. Like, I don't care how mature you were for your age. Like, you just weren't able to do that. And I don't understand why, for some reason, gay men just feel as though they're exempt from this. Like, they're a part of the same thing, too. Like, I just don't know. Like, I've had arguments with people about this subject, especially. You know, people like, oh, well, everyone's different. You know, I was 16, I had a job, I was on my own, blah, blah, blah. Just because you're living life of an adult does not mean you're an adult. Like, that doesn't, no, it just means you were a child who was forced to grow up a lot faster than you had to. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have the mental fortitude to, or you're not equipped mentally to be an adult yet. You're not. You don't have it yet. You're getting there. That's what the whole purpose of life is to develop. And I don't get why gay men feel as though they're exempt from this. Like, they'll sit there and like chastise, you know, straight people for the same actions. They're always like, oh, well, I'm different, I'm gay, so, you know, we mature faster, blah, 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 which is not true. Like, that's just another myth to make themselves feel better. Another part of this was how, for some reason, I had it, lost the train of thought. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the other side of this. At 16, I was doing that type of stuff, and then now being 31 and having younger men try to, like, you know, send me messages on Grindr and stuff, which is weird. I feel like a parent when I'm on Grindr. If I ever see like an 18-year-old little boy messaging, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you messaging me? Are you really 18? And I asked him, like, why are you on here? This is for grown men. Like, you should not be messing around with men this age. You should be messing around kids, like, your own age. They're like, oh, I just love older guys. And, you know, older guys are so much more mature. Like, yeah, we're mature because we've lived a long time. Like, you should definitely be dating people your own age when you're that young. Like, you don't have the capacity mentally to really deal with someone that older. Like, and we don't make people accountable for the men who prey on these kids. Like, we don't. Like, there's no reason in the world why a 30-year-old man should be having anything to do with a 16-year-old little boy. Like, that is nothing. We have mostly nothing in common. That's like a whole generation between us. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people saying, oh, well, I'm different, I'm mature, blah, blah. That doesn't make it right because you're mature. And if you are mature, that's great for you, but that's still predator behavior. And it's really unhealthy for you to be with someone that much older than you when you're that young. So yeah, I don't want to say that it's really easy to blame victims. It's so much easy. It's a lot hard to hold older people accountable. It's really hard for some reason, and I don't understand why R. Kelly or these other gay men who are in their 30s and 40s messing with these children are any different. Like, you are a 30-year-old man. You have nothing to do. You should have nothing to do with someone that young. They should be like a mentor, or that's about it. Like, other than that, you should not be having relationships with kids that young. I'm sorry, it's predator behavior. That's almost that's pretty much on the nose of pedophilia. Like, it's kind of gross. Like, just leave kids alone. Like, So that's all I want to talk about. Like, it's really easy. Like, being a kid, like, you can make a way out of nothing when you're a kid. When you're a teenager, you're very resourceful. If you want something you want to do, you'll find ways to get it done. And unfortunately, it may lead you into really bad situations. So, that's all I had to say. Thank you for watching my video. I hope I wasn't too, rambling on too long about this, but I just had some feelings about this that I want to get out. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hope to see you next video.